You didn't say business model.
Oh my God.
You missed something. You didn't say business model. You didn't say launch strategy.
Again, we're supposed to get dicey at the end of the episode, not now.
You didn't say launch strategy. And I just think that's important to note.
Yeah.
Because when we actually know the real problem, like so much of what I talk about in my company is knowing the real problem to actually heal your mental health. Because I just see so many people, and we're going to talk about it. We'll have our time, right? Of course, like you mentioned. But like, I just see so many people that don't look at the right things, and then they end up having a breakdown again later. They will change everything in their business that they think is hurting them, and then it just repeats itself. And I've seen that happen so many, or it just never gets fully solved, and I can tell it never got fully solved. And so I love how you broke down the triggers and how none of them have anything to do with business model, like low ticket versus high ticket, or launch strategy, whether you do a waitlist or whether you do a webinar, or even whether you do email only like myself, right? Or whether,
How many times I've heard that webinars impact mental health. I don't want to call anyone crazy, especially on an episode like this, but it's not solving the root issue. And I want to get a little bit more nuanced because I can hear people being like, no. When I stopped doing one-on-one coaching and when I went to group, I did feel better, DL. It's like, I do think there is a little reprieve. And there is a little celebration, like, whew, okay, I took that one thing away. Something that I call, and I haven't done like an episode on this, I call it revenge results, where you get results from the thing that you thought was your issue, but then the problem doubles down 3, 6, 9, 12 months later.
It will show up again.
It will show up again. And so I remember I had this client who said that she had mental health issues. And I want to be clear, whenever a client throws that flag up to me, I don't argue, right?
Yeah.
I will try to investigate, see, is this really the root issue? But whatever the client wants to do for their mental health, who am I to like try to disrupt that? Like, that's not the goal. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to do what's best for you. We've talked about this several times. We keep ending back up here. I want you to do what's best for you. So she stopped doing one-on-one coaching. She went to group coaching, was euphoric for 3 months, I have high expectations. So I'm like, she had a decent launch. She made money. But then as soon as that launch was over, she was like, oh, wait, I'm not selling again for another 3 months. And I was like, yeah, you now have a launch-based business model. She was like, this is actually worse. And I was like, I tried to say that earlier, right? And so you might, if you're saying to yourself, no, like doing XYZ actually did help me, give it 6 to 12 months and see, did it really solve the problem?
I call it fake peace.
Yeah.
Right. It's true peace versus fake peace, which we have a whole episode on that on the podcast. And it's really, yes, there's a temporary relief, but it doesn't actually solve it thoroughly. Yeah. And, let's actually answer that question though. What's wrong with temporary relief?
I think when we talk about sabbaticals, I'm pretty extreme. And I'm like, if you need a temporary relief, take a temporary relief. Do you need a fundamental vacation? Right? Do you need to take extensive time off?
Relief.
Yeah, get actual relief, like be done. Like changing your business model is still work. I said this in my Money Goals podcast episode where people say, oh, I don't want to grow my income. I'm like, you're still working though. Yeah, you're still like, if you really need a break, take a full break. Yeah. So within these triggers, and maybe we could talk about this, just knowing what are yours. I think a lot of things when it comes to mental health and business is we lack self-intimacy. We're not intimate with ourselves. I was at a retreat and we were talking about anxiety, and someone said, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but someone said, what is like one of your triggers for anxiety? And I listed off a lot of the things within the 5 pillars, and then something I just threw in. I was like, oh yeah, and sugar. Like sugar, like when I do a lot of sugar, my anxiety spikes right up. It has nothing to do with like my chemical imbalance. Well, like it could, but like definitely when I have more sugar, my anxiety goes up. And someone's eyes got big at the table. And she was like, I drink boba tea every day. Yeah. And I was like, girl, you anxious. Like, I already know. Like, girl, I know. And she was like, oh, and it's just do you have intimacy on what are your triggers without trying to change them? Like, I've told myself this, I told my clients this, like, I will always worry about money. That's never gonna, it's just how my brain works, how my trauma works, how everything works. And that's why I'm so passionate about money mindset, because I've had to do so much work on it, and I'm eons from where I was. But I have a lot of intimacy with my triggers. I find that people want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. They want to completely change their business model. They want to gut everything. They want to do something completely different, all because they don't know their own triggers. And triggers, to the point of sugar or something small, or I'm always going to worry about money, they're actually very small. And when you know your trigger, I think you have more agency over it, and you don't feel the need to throw out the baby with the bathwater and gut your whole business down.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think, like we talked about before, knowing your personal signs of your mental health declining is so important. Like what's going on with you externally, internally, to know that. I think so often we are just not literally observing ourselves. Because like, notice how we were so clear.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I snap my fingers, I bite my hair, like, I do all these things, I avoid sleep, like all of that. We just don't observe ourselves. And it's because we're in the grind, and like, no wonder why our nervous systems aren't regulated, which is a whole other thing, right? Because we are literally on autopilot. And I think the moment you can actually just take a second to observe yourself, and what that literally looks like in action is with sugar, just noticing after you eat anything, whatever it was, how do I feel right now? Oh, I noticed when I had sugar, I now feel this in the past 2 days, right? Or whatever it is. And for me, like, when I'm avoiding sleep or I'm doing whatever, it's like, it's because I'm paying attention to myself. I'm like, what am I doing right now, and why am I doing it? Is a really good question to ask yourself, to start just becoming more aware, so that you're not just on autopilot, and you can actually be, like they talk about intuitive eating, intuitive this, intuitive that. All of that is just tapping in and literally observing yourself.
And to this point of like not making it sound overwhelming, it takes 5 minutes.
Not even.
I remember this was, I've been a little bit of a nervous system biohacking kick. It's been annoying Kirsten a lot. And so something I've been doing.
To be clear, not that I'm against nervous system regulation.
She's more biohacking than me.
But
yeah.
It's that every second she's like, wait, my nervous system isn't regulated. And I'm like, listen, there's going to be times where you're going to have to push through that.
No, we were literally standing in the airport, and I was like, I'm not regulated. She was like, no one is. It's an airport. So I've been on a nervous system regulation kick. And what I've been doing is, it'll take me 5 minutes at the end of the day where I'm like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I feel a little groggy. And I'm like, oh, Dielle, you've been scrolling a lot. Yes. Or I'm like, oh, I feel jittery, or I feel bloated, or this, that, and the third. I'm like, oh yeah, you have that, and you did this. And again, it's not to shame, it's just to gather information. So it can just literally just take a few minutes to self-analyze. I remember this was a few years ago when TikTok first came out. I remember feeling so groggy when I woke up to work in my 9-to-5 job, and also work in my business when I was side hustling. This again back in 2020, 2021. I remember feeling so groggy when I woke up, and it would impact my mood. And I was like, I scrolled on TikTok for an hour before I got out of bed. And I was like, wait, so just literally taking a few minutes to self-analyze and go back to be like, what did I just do that might be causing how I'm feeling? And it may have nothing to do with your business.
Yeah, and it almost never does, actually.
Yeah.
Almost never, like upon further investigation. I just had a client on the podcast, and I love what she said, because I asked her, how are you avoiding burnout with everything that you're doing? And she said, I don't burn out anymore, I get crispy. And I was like, oh my goodness, I love that. Because it's this idea of, I know when I'm getting a little crispy, and I know exactly what to do. And she talked about her self-care practices and her framework for self-care. And I thought it was brilliant, where it's like, oh, and I had another client too on the podcast that said, I don't feel like I burn out anymore. Things just feel a little spicy for a second, right? And it's the same thing where it's just like, because they're paying attention to themselves. I always tell clients with burnout, with anything with mental health, it's normal for your brain to do different things sometimes. It's normal for you to disengage. It's normal for you to go low, go high. Like those things can be normal. Of course, a chemical imbalance can exaggerate it, but like those can be normal. It's just if you're aware of yourself, you can work yourself through the waves. And I think that's just so important. But I just love that she said that. I don't burn out, I get crispy.
Mental health, burnout, it's a spectrum.
Yes, huge spectrum.
And, you know, if we think about 10 is burnout, hospitalization, you have to close everything or you're going to get sick. 1 is you feel like you're Beyonce, right? So 1 to 10. Do you know what a 3 looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what a 5 looks like? Do you know what an 8 looks like? Because all we know is 1 or 10. And it's like, no, you have a spectrum. And do you know what those signs are? Someone will be like, can you give us some hope, please? I am hopeless. Can you give me some hope? So
Yeah.
going back to simplifying and not trying to oversimplify, but going back to the idea of simplifying, just like with any health concern, and again, I have an autoimmune issue that I've talked about a lot. I think with mental health, it's just making sure your needs are met. The solution, how you fix your mental health problems, are making sure your needs are met. That's it in its simplest form. Do you have any immediate thoughts with that?
My immediate thoughts are someone like myself who leans on the side of neglect for fear of being dramatic or fear of it not being real or something like that. How do you know you have needs that need to be met? And I'll give you my answer, which is ask enough people. I remember one time you told me, you were like, you've had 3 professionals with degrees. Not that they have to have degrees, right? But like, we've had 3 people tell you the same thing. When are you going to believe it? And I remember being like, 1 more. You know what I mean? But it's like, whatever. If you need that 1 more, you need that 1 more, or just trust what you've already gotten. But I think that if you lean on that side, it is really, really important that you just ask some people, tell them what's going on, and you'll get some answers.
I was going to say, and what I say to my clients a lot when I'm talking about like the burnout spectrum, they're like, well, how do I know I'm at a 3 versus a 5? I'm like, your spouse will probably tell you.
Yes.
Your kids might say something to you. Your coach I've been on several coaching calls where I'm like, hey, something ain't right here.
Me too.
I'll stop recording to respect their privacy. I'm like, hey, something isn't right. Many, many times I'll say, hey, you need to see a therapist. Your community will also tell you. In addition to the triggers and signs, I think that's the first step. Like, your body will tell you. Maybe your finances will tell you. All the other things will tell you that something is going on, that you need to attend to your needs. But also your community will tell you. The people around you will tell you. I remember when I was going through a season at my 9-to-5 job, my work started to slip. So there will be physical signs around you as well.
If I can just go on a quick side tangent about just coaching clients through something like that, you should not be coaching without screens being on. Like, it's like a random like thing that I'm very passionate about, because I cannot tell you, not to say that I'm saying the person that you're literally coaching, not that other people that aren't getting coaching. You should see them, because I cannot tell you how many coaching moments I've had where I've seen I didn't know a client was crying, and then I was like, please put your camera. This is how I learned. I remember this one client specifically, I didn't know they were crying. And then I was like, put your camera on, please. And she was absolutely devastated. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, you're going through a whole thing. I've had clients literally laying down in bed in their covers, getting coaching. And I've had to say, you need to go talk to someone, like another professional. You need to speak to a therapist. You need to go to a doctor. You need to whatever it is. And if you do not see that person, because for me, it's so much of it is body language. If you are coaching someone and you're a coach, you have to be able to read body language, because
that's 80% of it.
That's 80% of it. And it's just like a random side tangent, but I think it's so important, because when I have someone in front of me, they may be saying something to me, but because I'm seeing them and because I have experience in this, I'm like, they are about to have a crash, or like something's about to happen, or they're currently going through something that they're not telling me. And I have to take a whole new direction. I've had to literally go, okay, wait, nervous system route, what's going on? And then it's a totally different experience. Just a random side tangent on the importance of screens being on when you're coaching somebody, because it's literally a mental health concern if you're not able to coach someone and see their body language.
And we both do that in our practices. Yeah. Going back to like,
I can't coach you unless your screen is on.
Yeah.
It's very important. And also there's like logistical things too. Like I don't want anybody driving.
Yeah. Like
stuff like that.
Legal concerns.
Yeah.
I also think, we both have done this I can't tell you many times. And so we're going to talk about support in a second, but just realizing that you will show the signs, and then also your community and like the things and people around you will also say things too. Mm-hmm. But to this point of not being able to catch it, it's going to be subtle.
Yeah.
Like my husband would be like, Dielle, your shoulders are up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I got to drop my shoulder. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm a little anxious today, or whatever that is. And so
thankfully I'm less subtle. I'm like,
yeah.
My husband's like, my husband grabs my leg. He's like, you're snapping again.
The sounds on the podcast are going to be crazy. They're like, what are they doing? You got to watch the video.
I hope y'all are watching the video.
You got to watch the video. We did it several ticks.
This is a video podcast, this one.
Yes. And so I think paying attention to your community. To that point, distractions. Mm-hmm. Distractions from your needs. There are 3. There's several frameworks within the framework here. So here are some distractions that will keep you from fixing your needs and it'll intensify your symptoms. So the first one, and I think the most common one, is painful self-talk. And this kind of goes back to like the self-worth trigger. So say you have a financial need that's not being met, and then that causes anxiety and depression. And then on top of that, you shame yourself. You then have like 6 or 7 layers there, right? Or say you are going through something in your marriage, and then that impacts how you're showing up. Maybe you don't want to be on camera and video, and then maybe your sales go down, and then you have negative self-talk on top of that. And so I think just realizing if you have negative self-talk, there's probably a deeper issue going on as well that needs to be addressed. So that's one of them. The second one is self-isolating. If you stop coming to coaching calls, is a big tell for me. And my higher level mastermind, where people pay tens of thousands of dollars to work with us, we reach out to clients if we don't hear from them in 60 days. Mm-hmm. Just as a simple check-in. Like, if you want some privacy, if you want to take some time, that's fine. But just a simple check-in. So self-isolating, not going to coaching, not spending time with your family, not spending time with your friends, not going to your house of worship is often a big one if you are a religious person in any shape or fashion. Not being in community. You haven't gone on vacation with your family or friends in a while. You haven't taken a girls' trip in a while. You're just self-isolating. And then blaming. This could be blaming yourself or blaming your business model, blaming a coach, a particular coach. I can't tell you how many times a client will say very vulnerably and openly to me, Dielle, I think there's something going on with how you're coaching me. I think there's something going on with your strategy. I'm not doing well with this. I'm not doing well in this, with this framework. I can take it. I have tough skin. I'm like, that's okay. Let's diagnose this. Let's get to the root of it. It's a mental health issue. Not to gaslight the client. That's never it. And I 100% from that conversation will adapt my framework and my coaching based off of that conversation. Again, it's not to gaslight them, but there's typically something else going on that needs to be addressed in addition to a coaching correction.
Can I also just add, for just so nobody thinks that, when someone questions your strategy, you say like it's a mental health thing.
Oh yeah, no.
I want to be clear. Dielle has changed her strategy.
Yeah.
Like when there has been times where it's like, oh, actually, even with myself.
Yeah, that's what I said. In addition to changing the coaching.
You have been like, oh, well, yes. And also, even if there wasn't a mental health thing, you have just changed your strategy. You've been like, oh, wait, actually, I didn't think about that. Yeah, the positioning of that, maybe that doesn't work. Yeah. You've changed your strategy many times.
Yeah, all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'll say all the time, like, okay, I'm going to break my own rules for a second.
Yeah.
Let's
you
try
say that
this
all the time.
Yeah, let's try this completely new thing that I've never recommended to anybody else. 100%. Yeah. So to recap, it's painful self-talk, self-isolating, and then blaming in some shape or fashion. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I think that in this sensitive conversation, mindset work gets a bad rep. And I do want to address that. And the way I described it before we started recording is, if you know you have an imbalance, like I know I have an imbalance, right? A chemical imbalance. So negative self-talk and like not being on top of that and doing mindset work around my negative self-talk will enhance my imbalance.
Let me ask a dicey question.
Please.
If you have a chemical, this is like the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a chemical imbalance, can you change your thoughts?
That is what I was going to say. Let me finish.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
But I do want to answer that.
Yeah.
Finishing that thought, just knowing that I have an imbalance, I likened it to, I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying this is how my brain works with illustrations. I likened it to, you have a gluten sensitivity. So you know that you have a sensitivity. So try to be mindful around gluten. And it's the same thing where you have a sensitivity mentally, make sure you're mindful around your mindset, right? As much as you can. But sometimes it is, to speak to that, sometimes your imbalance will make it very hard to manage your mindset. I have kind of two answers to that, or maybe it's the same. My initial answer is that I absolutely know that my imbalance can make it extremely hard to do mindset work, like extremely. But I don't believe that you can't not do it. I think that shows an imbalance in your practices around managing your triggers and around your nervous system practices.
You're at a deficit.
And things like that. I'm at a deficit somewhere. So when my imbalance is to the point where it is making it so hard to do mindset work, which is valid and does happen, right? Where, I mean, I've literally said to you as a friend, I'm like, I can't get there. I'm not going to get there, right? But then I realize, well, not unless I'm doing all of my other practices in order to get myself to at least a baseline where I can do some of it, right? And this is why you need to know what your needs are and actually be meeting your needs. But in my experience, I have not found that it is impossible to change your thoughts when you have an imbalance if you're treating the imbalance, however that looks. And something that I teach with burnout, especially, and it really applies to anything, mental health, anything, is that healing the body starts with the mind. It just does that. There's science behind that. There's science behind it, right? And so, it's not going to help if you are already so people will tell me, I'm so physically burned out, nothing's going to help it. And like mindset work's not going to help it. And I'm like, no, it's not until you start doing that mindset work that it's going to start helping to heal the body, just like with anything.
I've been really thinking about what is mindset work, because to that point, people are like, you're gaslighting yourself, or you're spiritually bypassing, or there's lots of
absolutely.
There's lots of terms around.
It's not toxic positivity.
No,
it is not
that.
Thinking thoughts that make you feel good. It's thinking thoughts that help you survive sometimes. That makes me a little emotional. Sometimes it's just getting you to baseline. It's thinking thoughts that stabilize you.
Taking a different perspective, I've been thinking like it's an awareness shift.
Yeah.
How I think about it is my brain is thinking through one door. And what mindset work, what coaching can do is just simply show me that there's another option.
And that's what I mean by stabilizing. This is really good. It's like thinking thoughts that stabilize you. It's not... everything's going to be amazing, actually. I have so much, like, in my, like, deep hopelessness that I've been through before, I'm not thinking everything's going to be amazing and everything's going to turn out okay. I'm just like, maybe it will. Or today could not be the worst day of my life, right? Like, it's sometimes it's really just that.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, yes, even those thoughts are kind of depressing, but they're stabilizing.
Sure.
Right. And so it's never about, for me, it's never about thinking myself happy or like trying to like gaslight myself out of my current reality. It's actually, what do I need to think to get through my current reality? What do I need to think to believe that this reality is still worth it? And what do I need to think to just like keep going?
What helps my worry and my hopelessness, which is anxiety and depression, is really just realizing that I have other options than what my brain is giving me.
Yes.
Our brains will fixate on this is the only thing. This is the only way this can happen. This is the only way. And I have to do mindset work to be like, Dielle, yes, there's A, there's B, there's C, there's D. There are other solutions and there are other options.